Hey everybody, this is Jay Smooth, and you're watching Hawk Wins.
What's up? I'm Jack Dwyer. Thank you guys for joining us here in the Neon Lounge, as we like to call it.
You're here in the beautiful Ukrainian village at the Q4 Studios.
And today's basically going to be our pilot episode. We thought in order to introduce Hawk Wins radio picture show out to the world, it might be important for you guys to know who your hosts are. Again, my name is Jack Dwyer.
And I'm Jay Smooth.
It's a pleasure to meet you guys. We kind of just wanted to talk and have a little Q&A between me and Jay about how the show became to be, where we started, how we ended up here, and where we plan on going in the future. I think it really all started, Jay, when it was October of 2020. I had just moved back to Chicago after the COVID pandemic breakout that had happened. And you posted something on Facebook that you had a radio show that was looking for a host, and I quickly responded. Tell us a little bit about it, man.
I was trying to do live streamings for bands, trying to combine an element of comedy and music. I felt like that was something that the world was lacking a little bit, especially during the pandemic times. You know, it was very, very difficult for everyone. So I was trying to figure out ways to get more media out there, considering that nobody was doing live shows. There's no comedy performances, there was no music going out, no music venues, nothing was happening. So I was trying to figure out ways to entertain people while they were just suffering at home, you know what I mean? So I figured the best way was to get a band together and live stream their performance. But I mean, you can just go on YouTube to find that, you know what I mean? Like, I was trying to figure out a different element to add to it, so I figured why not have a host and a little bit of comedy together, you know what I mean? So that's when I posted something and you were the first guy to respond.
Yeah, man. I think, too, it was definitely two forces of nature and entertainment that were lacking a live audience, and we definitely needed that. I think everyone craved that back in that time. Everyone was trapped at homes, the COVID outbreak had happened, and there was a new sense of norm, and there was a new sense of reality of how we take in entertainment. And you know, I was very blessed when I got the job with you. I remember I responded to your Facebook post, and I came into Q4, and John was incredible, who got us into Q4 Radio. Thank you, John. We appreciate you. Love you, brother.
Yeah, shout out to John.
Shout out, John. And, you know, it really meshed. I think from the get-go, I think I made a really corny joke. I was like, oh, you want a comedian, but you don't have any audience. That's great, because nobody ever laughs at my jokes. And ever since, we just became pals. And it was super fun. Jay Smooth here introduced me to his entire band, The Skies Are Shifting. And then we introduced another band later on, a couple weeks later. And we kind of just started a relationship with me and Jay here, and then a relationship with the folks here at Q4 Radio. And things just kind of snowballed. Originally, Jay's production company was called Sad Boy Productions.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Well, not R.I.P. You know, sometimes things change, things evolve.
It shifted.
It shifted. It snowballed, as some may even say.
Yeah.
You know?
It's transformed into something bigger now.
Yeah. You know, we did a couple shows together with Sad Boy Productions, and I was hosting and interviewing the bands before then. And then I was talking to John of Q4 Radio, and he said, "Hey Jack, he's like, let's do something like a little bigger. I want to push you guys a little more." I remember him like throwing some gas on the fire of us. I was like, "Dude, for sure, let's do it." And when he asked me that, I was so thrilled. I felt like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I was like, let's just do like a fun holiday show, but make it all within COVID guidelines.
Right.
And we did. And I'm very proud of ourselves for that, because not a lot of people were doing that. And it was pushing it. It was for sure pushing it, because we technically weren't supposed to have large gatherings at that point, but a lot of you motherfuckers were having parties at home.
We literally had people out there taking people's temperatures, so I feel like we did something okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't too out of line.
We had 12 performers there that night for a radio picture show holiday spectacular, and all 12 of the performers were COVID checked. I gave you a thermometer at the front. I was like, just check these guys' temperature, make sure everyone's good.
Yep.
And we had a beautiful night. It was safe. It was fun. We were able to entertain people. I played a drunk elf, which is one of my favorite characters till today. Spotlight Sparkles.
Which, by the way, that video is on YouTube somewhere.
It is down in the description. Check it out.
Somewhere, yeah.
I got some more material for Spotlight, but I guess that's my alter ego. We can edit that out. But that radio picture show was super fun. Jay produced it, and I hosted it, and we organized a lot of entertainers throughout the city of Chicago, north side, south side, west side. And it was great. We had 12 performers. A bunch of them came out and sang some holiday songs. And I think that was the birth of Hawk Winds. We just decided to call that the Hawk Winds Holiday Spectacular Radio Picture Show. And we made the show. It was a great success. We had a lot of fun. We did, I guess we could talk about our flaws in the show. We did get kicked off because we played a Frank Sinatra tune, which we had to go back.
Goddamn copyright laws.
What are you gonna do? Yeah. And it was on Frank Sinatra's birthday, which I thought was one of my favorite parts. It was 12/12/2020, which was really fun. And it was really great. We had a wonderful time, and we kind of took a little bit of a hiatus. I know we both kind of went into our creative endeavors after that, because when Sad Boy Productions and Hawk Winds originally became a thing, that was late 2020. That was October, November, December 2020. We kind of took a little bit of a hiatus, and we kind of have continued to stay in touch, you and I, throughout the years, and keeping in touch with John and working on stuff here and there. But it evolved us to where we are today, Hawk Winds, and a new platform, a new way of showcasing talent throughout the city of Chicago. It's a blessing and opportunity. And Jay, I want to thank you first and foremost, man. You introduced me to the Q4 family. You introduced me to this beautiful space. You brought me into this, man, and you came to me at a really pivotal moment of my life, where a lot of entertainers were at that point where they're like, man, I'm gonna fucking hang up my clown shoes, and that's it. And you pulled me back into it, brother, and I'm eternally thankful for that. So
I appreciate the kind words, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you for joining me on this, man. Like, not a lot of people would have the balls to be like, yeah, let's start the show from scratch and let's see what happens out of this. You know what I mean? Most people just want to go into something that's already, made for them, and you know what I mean.
But we got balls.
This is taking a lot of risk, and only men with balls can do this.
I know it, man. Absolutely.
No, man, but yeah, that's great, dude.
But it's cool. This new platform that we have here, as you can see behind us, folks, we have a whole entire stage here. We have podcast mics. We got a handful of them here. The idea of all of our shows here, we plan on introducing and having an interview with entertainers, performers, artists, bands, arts of all mediums. We plan on having here in this stage and having a sit down with them, getting to know how they got into it, why they got into it, and giving them a platform. I think that's something that's really important to me, and that's something that really drove me to what Jay was introducing me to here at Q4, of having a platform for artists to jump off of. And that was something that resonated with my morals and my ethics of how I started doing comedy and how I got into the business. But I guess before we get into all that, again, Jay, I just want to say thank you. And this is a great show, and I'm super excited for all the incredible performers we're going to have here at this table and on that stage. So again, brother, thank you.
Yeah, man. No, thank you, man. Starting off, we just wanted to have a place to showcase any kind of talent, really. Like, Chicago has a lot of stuff to showcase, you know what I mean? Not just music wise, but comedians and you were mentioning earlier, puppeteers and stuff. So
A little bit of everything.
what do you think got you interested in like the entertainment industry? Like what makes you tick?
How much time have we got here?
Oh, man, we got
boy, I can ramble. Long story short, I've always been the entertainer of my family. I was always the middle kid, seeking attention and acting up and being a goofball. I remember when I was a kid, I must have been maybe 7 or so, and I was so engulfed with cameras. I love video cameras, I love photography, and I just fell in love with it, and I saved up all of my allowance money. I remember like watching the neighbor's cat for money and mowing lawns, and I saved up enough money for a video camera. And me and my buddies were always making like jackass videos and music videos. And whenever there were projects in school, all my friends were like, I want Jack on my team because he's going to, make the fun video. And I fell in love with it. I think the origin, I guess, of where I came from, as far as how I got into entertainment, there was a pivotal moment in my life where my family was on the Oprah show. I don't know if I ever told you this, but yeah, dude,
what was that like?
It was great. It was it was a show on healthy eating, and the idea was that they were going to send out Dr. Andrew Weil, who was also famous from the new Mushroom documentary on Netflix, Fantastic Fungi. Highly suggest you check it out. And he came to the house, and it was just a show on healthy eating, and they showed my family. And I remember being a kid. I was in 2nd grade. This was right before 9/11. It was like year 2000, and I remember the limo pulling up to my house. They picked us up, and we lived in a cul-de-sac, so as you can imagine, it was comical for this limo to get out of a cul-de-sac. And I remember that they picked us up. They brought us out to the west side of Chicago, which was formerly Harpo Studios. If you spell Oprah backwards, it's Harpo. Which is how I got my dog's namesake. Harpo, I know you're watching. Hey, Daddy loves you, baby. So that's how I got my dog's name. But yeah, I remember at that age, and I remember seeing lights, camera, action, and I was like, I love this. This is so fun. I want to be a part of this. I want to see what this is all about. And as far as why I got into it, I can keep diving deeper.
Go ahead, bro.
I guess it's the pilot episode, I guess. No, man, I've always stayed interested in arts and video and media and film. And I wasn't really sure what I wanted to be when I grew up. I grew up on the south side of Chicago, and most young men out there are expected to grow up to be a cop, criminal, or work in construction. And then you got to pick 2 of the 3 to survive. And arts just wasn't really like a thing for me. I was, honors drawing and painting and stuff like that. But as far as like theater, that's always something I wish I had gotten into more. I remember being like in kindergarten, my first role was Santa Claus, and I crushed it. I was like, oh, this is what it's like to make a group of people laugh. Like, this is really fun. It's fucking, I'm an adrenaline junkie to begin with, but when you get that, you're like, oh my God, like this is what it's all about.
Do you remember the first time you were ever in front of a stage, in front of anybody that you either like made laugh, or you were just like, well, this is a cool moment in time that I kind of want to like relive forever?
Gotta be Bobby Noonan's Kindergarten. I was Santa Claus. That had to have been one of my moments where I was just like, that's it. I want to make people laugh. I want to make people enjoy themselves and hear their feedback. It's an energy, man. It's we're talking about sound radiating, and you can see sound in it. But when you feel that energy for the first time, it can be addicting to a lot of people.
It's funny, the fact that you were Santa Claus, somebody that brings joy to the world, and that's the part that made you want to be like, all right, this is kind of what I want to do for a living. That connection right there is kind of funny.
I appreciate that. It was. I guess I never put it together like that. But yeah, it was, the being a joy maker. And I grew up always being the goofball and whatnot. And I'll tell you what though, man, when I think the defining moment where for anyone listening out there who doesn't really know what they want to do with their life, I'll tell you right now, I still don't completely know, and that's what makes life really exciting. You can reinvent yourself, and you can find new ways of finding joy and love. But there are some moments in your life that will hit you like a fucking ton of bricks, and it'll just smack you out of nowhere, and you have no idea that it's coming until it just hits you. And you know, I as fucked up as it sounds, it was one of the worst moments of my life. When I was in high school, my mother had suffered a heart attack, and when she had the heart attack, she was like without oxygen for a little while, and it like fucked with her brain. Right. And long story short, my mom was in like this vegetative state for my entire like high school career. But I think one of the defining moments for me was sitting in the intensive care unit at Little Company of Mary Hospital out on the south side of Chicago. And I was watching a Vince Vaughn movie. And I was like, this is so funny. I'm like, I remember feeling this like sense of relief that there was this outlet out there that made people forget about all of the sadness that they go through in their life. And that really sank with me in the sense of like, that's the thing that got me through it. And that was the thing that fueled my flame getting out of it, of being that outlet for people who are going through a hard time.
So now would you say comedy is your outlet for that? Or would you say just like entertaining in general? Because you don't just do comedy, right? You do a bunch of other stuff too.
You're right. Yeah, I do. The word entertainer is such a broad spectrum, you know, and that's something that I guess I learned through time of it, you know. We had Michelle Billingsley on the other day, and she was like, Jack, every room you walk into, you just like, you light it up and you're bubbly. And, you know, I think that was something that like, that hit me. I was like, I appreciate that. And I am that way because I was in that negative mindset all the time. And I remember what it's like to be on the fucking bottom and feeling like the world is just smacking you down with its big dick. And it's really hard, but to have somebody in that element to pull you out of it is so relieving. So to answer your question, yes, like comedy has been a big thing for me. I've done a lot of work doing stand-up comedy. When I first started doing it, I was actually too young to I was too young to do stand-up comedy at Riddle's Comedy Club out on the south side of Chicago. And I remember going in there with my fake ID, and I would use my fake ID so I could go and perform. And my dad knew about it. But yeah, to answer your question, I know I'm elaborating, but I guess, the word entertainer is such a broad spectrum in the sense that, you know, you can say you're a comedian, which is already a broad spectrum, but you know, I like to think outside the box a bit more. I do dabble in like clowning type material. I do a lot of spectacle art as well. Parades are some of my favorite things that I've done quite recently. You know, you can't really limit yourself. You know, the word comic or comedian or entertainer, yeah, it's really a spectrum. I'm on some sort of spectrum. I was a weird kid.
Who isn't nowadays?
Yeah. You know, I was a weird kid. When I was a young kid, my parents thought that I might be mildly autistic, but it just turns out I was wildly artistic.
Oh, SpongeBob caption right there.
But no, man, you know, I think that's important to not limit yourself, because especially later in life, at least in the last couple of years of my life, I've definitely gone outside of my comfort zone for the sheer entertainment of other people. I've done a lot of really fun work, and I think most importantly now, man, I want to say I do a lot of meaningful work, in the sense of, you know, I'm not famous, I'm not fucking big on TikTok, I'm not viral, but I do really meaningful work that I know makes the world a better place, and I know that it makes a lot of people happy. Some to mention, you know, not only this show where we give a platform for artists to show their true selves, when I was first starting to get into the comic game, I found myself producing a lot of shows. And I think one of the big things that really appealed to me was like being Sam Jackson, you know, like in the Marvel movies. Like, he's the bad motherfucker who's just got a lot of cool friends and he assembles them. And I've always loved this idea of giving folks a platform because, again, growing up on the south side of Chicago, I didn't have a whole lot of platforms to be an artist like that. And I found this sanctuary with a group of friends that I met at the Second City. And from there, I started hosting and organizing my own shows. We used to call them Live Comedy Night. And they expanded from 115 Bourbon Street to other locations throughout the south side of Chicago. And I've done a lot of really great work that I'm very thankful for. Again, giving artists a platform. But even now, I also work with a nonprofit group called Holiday Heroes. Link in the description, check them out. Which is a nonprofit organization that does a lot of bedside visits for pediatric hospitals. And it's really great. I get to dress up like superheroes. And I go visit kids who are terminally ill with cancer, or kids who are in an adoption center.
Oh, that's very wholesome.
It is, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. One day, I was Spider-Man at this hospital. It was an orphanage, and this kid had like severe behavior issues. Right? He was a biter. He would hit everything. And I came in as Spider-Man. And what's cool about Spider-Man is that when he wears the suit, you don't see the skin underneath. You don't know if he's white, if he's black, if he's Latino. He's Spider-Man, you know? So all kids identify and relate to Spider-Man. And what was cool was that this kid just did not have any sort of like outburst or anything. He was so wholesome and he was so kind because Spider-Man was
trying to impress Spider-Man.
He was trying to do for Spidey. And one of the doctors at the end of it was like, honestly, he's like, thank you, Spider-Man. He's like, I haven't seen this kid behave since he's been in here. You know what I mean? Like, he has severe developmental issues and he doesn't relate as a lot of normal folks do. And it hit me so hard out that the importance of being an entertainer and
you're out there changing lives, man.
Yeah,
for a kid that otherwise would have never seen Spider-Man, in real life, quote unquote.
Right. And I just remember going to my car that day and I just bawled my eyes out, man. I was just like, and it hit me. I was like, I felt the presence of my ancestors upon me, and they're just like, you're doing the right thing, dude. Like, that's,
man. I mean, think about it. If that was my kid, I would want Spider-Man to come up there and be like, "Hey, man, you're gonna be all right." Spidey says so. You know what I mean?
And it's a lot of times the parents need it just as much as the kids.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a hope for the parents as well, man.
Yeah, it's definitely a powerful thing. But you know what, man? To I guess to kind of put the cherry on top is that I think you can ask any comedian worth asking, I guess you can ask why they're into it, and a lot of them will tell you that they were in that bad place in their life and they felt like a victim or they felt like a villain and they needed to overcome the hero's journey within themselves to come out victorious on the other side. Some people don't. Some people are still in that villain era, and hey, good for them, I guess. But
if you ask a lot of comedians, they'll tell you some horrific stories of why, you know what I mean, and later on they'll go on to make those stories like, comedic in their acts or whatever. But a lot of them, you get to the core of why they're doing it. It's a lot of like, trauma involved, which makes sense. You know what I mean? You want to overcome your traumas with like, laughter at some point. You know what I mean? It's a good coping mechanism.
It is, man. I'm the funniest motherfucker at any funeral. I'll tell you that right now. I just like, I'm immature, but that's how I cope with sadness. And I think a lot of folks who have gone through that can relate, and they're like, that is a good coping mechanism.
You know who Joey Diaz is?
Oh, of course I know Joey Diaz.
I freaking love that
motherfucker. Seen his mom. Well, yeah, I know the story.
He found his mom dead while he was on LSD.
Mm-hmm.
And that motherfucker's hilarious.
You got to go through some trauma, I think. And sometimes when you go through some trauma and you come out victorious on the other side, you're stronger in that sense. You know what I mean? I couldn't go and be Spider-Man seeing a kid hooked up to a bunch of tubes unless I had gone and seen my mother like that.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Like,
see, it all ties back to something. Because I was thinking to myself, like, man, I don't think, even if I was bringing like joy to these kids, it would be hard for me to like see some of these kids, you know what I mean, in the state that they're in.
Yeah.
What
you got to get conditioned in a way. I don't want to say become numb to it, but like, we live in Chicago, we hear about people dying every other day, so like you kind of have to have this backbone.
How long did it take you to? I'm not gonna say to get you to get comfortable to seeing that kind of stuff, but like, how long did it take you to like, I guess, not feel as like, I don't know, as bad, I guess.
That pain never goes away. It's weird, when my mom had the heart attack, one of the things, it's a weird memory of scent. I remember smelling hand sanitizer all the time. And I related that smell to my mother.
Yeah.
And like, and her ailment. And that was always kind of a trigger for me. I was just like, ooh, this just kind of brings back bad memories. And it's one of those things that, like, I guess you never lose that sense of that sense of fear or sadness, but you learn how to harness it. If you can control it. I learned this from doing public speaking, man. When you are fearful, or if you have anxiety and your hands are clammy and your feet are shaking, but you're able to kind of harness this energy into your crotch and into your belly, and you protrude it. It's the same fear that you kind of have to harness in a way where you really just wrangle the beast. You know what the dragon is. You can ride it like a saddle. You just got to be able to harness it and clear your mind and put it in the right direction.
It's like the same feeling you get when you go on stage, kind of. It's like, you're about to perform in front of a bunch of people, but you kind of have to like take it.
It's scary.
And run with it.
Yeah.
Was there any point in time when you were like, man, this isn't something that I probably should like pursue, like being an entertainer? Was there any time where you were just like, man, this isn't going anywhere, I should probably quit and just get a normal like 9-to-5 job?
Bro, probably when COVID hit. When COVID hit, it was, I'm not gonna lie, dude, it was a really hard time of my life. I lost everything. I lost 4 sources of income.
Jesus.
I lost my girlfriend. I lost my apartment. I lost my mind. And amongst other things. And it was really a fucking shitty thing, because you grow up in the 90s in America and they're like, yeah, you can do whatever you want in this world.
Those boomers,
Hey,
buying houses with $30 and a bag of pears or something.
Yeah, the world was different then, but it was one of those things that it's like, I really did put all my eggs in one basket. Do I regret it? Fuck no. No, dude. Because I've done so many cool things in my life that I'm very proud of. Like, if you look at my resume, I'm, not to flap my own gums, but like, I'm very proud of it. I've done a lot of really cool things, and I don't regret it, because I know that in the bottom of my heart, I changed a lot of people's lives. And whether it was a small interaction or it was a big laugh on stage, whatever it may be. Before the pandemic, I guess I would consider it a full-time entertainment gig. I was working as a double-decker tour guide of Chicago. I was up on top of a double-decker bus, and I would sing and I would dance and I would point out historical figures of Chicago. And honestly, man, it was the best job I've ever had in my entire life.
So you would sing and dance and point out like buildings and stuff, or what was that like?
It was the best. I met people from all across the world. It was great because I was able to talk about things that I knew since I was a kid. You know what I mean? Like, I grew up on the south side of Chicago, and you just kind of have this understanding and this appreciation for the city. And it was cool. Chicago, I will show you around.
What's one Chicago fact everybody in the world should know? Oh, man. Putting you on the spot right now.
The bean's overhyped.
Yeah, that's true. Anybody visiting Chicago, don't ask your friends to take you to the Bean, because they won't. They no.
We'll scoff at it. It's cool.
We'll probably ride around it, and you can see it from the window or something, but that's about it.
Yeah. I think the cool thing about Chicago, one thing that I like talking about on my tours, at least, that I think people who aren't from here should know, is just how awesome it is when you grow up here and you get to utilize the public services of Chicago. If you get to go to the park districts and they have summer camps and they have field trips, and it's really important for young kids to be able to see this kind of stuff and be exposed to it and have lock-ins at the gym, which they're not doing anymore. Thanks, Rahm Emanuel. But I think it's one thing, again, to answer your question, what was something that they should know? Chicago is such a cool cultural hub for a young mind to grow and expand. I know you can relate, Jay. Being kids here in Chicago, you take field trips to like the Joffrey Ballet, and you go see the Nutcracker, or get tickets to
see like plays, all types of plays. You go to like the art museum and stuff. Just
field
like
museum,
a free
Shed
field
Aquarium.
trip in school. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Chicago is definitely a good place for art and diversity and stuff like that.
And for the youth and for I think in general for everybody, it's a cultivation hub for a lot of art, entertainment, science, so many things that have blossomed out of the city. So, no, man, I'm a proud Chicagoan. I'm proud to be here on this show and showcase Chicago art and entertainment. And it's a blessing. It's an ikigai, if you will, the Japanese term of
what's an ikigai?
Ikigai. It sounds icky.
Sounds like my. Never mind. I'm not gonna say it.
It's so the ikigai. It's a Venn diagram. You have 4 circles, and the circles that overlap. It's it's what does the world need? What can you get paid for? What are you good at? And I forgot the other one. But anyways, the little center part, that's your purpose in life. That is, I think the last one was what makes you happy. But it's your purpose in life. And mine has always been to cultivate art and to allow artists to be their best selves. And hence, here we are now. And again, Jay, I just want to thank you for having me on board. Now let me turn the tables on you, brother.
Oh, shit.
Let me ask you, why? What is the why? What is the purpose that you wanted to start up doing music? And what drove you to Q4?
Oh, shit. I mean, like I was mentioning before, I just wanted a place where, like, I was noticing a lot of Chicago artists, bands and specifically, are really good. Not to toot my own horn, not to toot Chicago's horn, but like, there's a lot of good artists in Chicago that just don't get the exposure, or just don't know how to get the exposure they need, or don't even know how to contact the venue. Because I didn't know when I first started, I didn't know how my band would contact the venue until I actually found an email or whatever. And so there's a lot of bands that need a little bit of push, that are really good, that need a little bit of push just to get a little bit out there. I started hitting up everybody that I knew that had any type of platform for anything. Eventually, I came across John, who owns this Q4 Studios. He had all the capabilities for me to be able to do a live stream show for the bands. This was during COVID, so no venues were booking bands, no other studios were booking bands. John just happened to be there and ready to go, and so I hit him up. A couple emails later, I had my band up here, and we were doing a full live stream for the world to see, pretty much. That's how that got started.
That's awesome, man. Now I know you're a big musician. You're a guitar player for The Skies Are Shifting. What got you into music originally?
I'm gonna have to say my father. When I was younger, he always had like guitars and pianos laying around. I was never allowed to touch them because I would break them. But eventually, when I got old enough, I was given my first guitar, and I pretty much begged my mom for days to give me like guitar lessons.
What kind was it?
I don't even remember it was like a knockoff Fender. For those of you who play guitar, you guys know what I'm talking about.
It was a Bender.
That black and white Fender guitar, you know what I mean? the one that everybody has. It was one of those with a PV amp. Everybody that plays guitars will know what I'm talking about. So I don't know, it was maybe a couple weeks of just begging her for guitar lessons. Eventually, I was able to get them when I was like 12 years old, and just, things took off from there. I got into my first band when I was in 8th grade. I feel bad because I don't remember the name of them, but we did that for a while. I got into another band, kept doing a bunch of like shitty garage shows and stuff, which as you do when you're a young musician. Eventually, I found the band that I'm in now, which we're doing a lot of cool stuff with.
How long have you guys been together for?
Oh man, like 5 years now, 5-6 years. Yeah, it's pretty good experience so far with everyone.
Yeah, you guys are booked pretty regularly. I know you guys got a couple shows coming up in the next couple following weekends.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we got a couple shows this month. We got a couple shows next month. We're pretty booked for like the first half of the year. I book most of their shows, so it's pretty fun.
Mr. Businessman. Let me ask you, what's the best show you guys have ever put on?
Oh man. The show that we ever put on was probably
put on or performed in general.
Oh, well, the best show that we probably, in my opinion, because I'm sure everybody in the band has different opinions on their best show. We performed with this band called I Met a Yeti and this band called The Marionette at Reggie's. I think it was close to being sold out. It wasn't sold out, but it was close to being sold out. I remember I got the resume, the summary at the end. But it was.
It's a big venue too. You can pack a lot of people in there.
Yeah. It was like 150 people. It was a small room. But either way, just knowing that a lot of people were there to like watch us play was like, very exciting.
Yeah, that's such a fun venue too. People come there to rock too. You're gonna get a good crowd there.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Very cool.
It's pretty cool.
And what other kind of endeavors do you do? I know you obviously you play guitar. You did the intro song for the original Hawk Winds Radio Picture Showcase.
The Jeopardy.
Jeopardy. Let's talk about that. That was fun.
Yeah, I mean, so I think YouTube has a thing where like if you do a cover of a song where it isn't over like a certain length, they won't flag it or something. That was pretty easy to do. I just figured out what the tabs were and then just changed the pitch a little bit to make it not the original, but it still sounded like the original.
Yeah.
So I guess YouTube didn't flag it.
And that was so fun too, because I remember we were on the phone brainstorming. I remember I was in my shitty little garden unit apartment, and you were like, what should we do for an intro? It's got to be sick. And I'm like, I don't know, bro. Alex Trebek of Jeopardy just died, and I think it was one of those. Oh, bro, we got to do the tip me over and turn me up.
Yeah.
So it was.
Yeah, that was fun for sure.
Yeah, it kind of fell all together. Yeah, man, you're a very talented guitar player. I must say.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
It was so cool. I think it was the first time that I met you that I saw you and your band perform, and I remember Jack, the lead guitar player of your band. He came up to me and he's like, "Hey man, do you want some like headphones or some earplugs?" And I'm like, "I'm tough as nails, you know me, bro." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm okay."
Yo, I love
like,
Jack, man. He's always worrying about it. He's all like, "Yo, man, you need some earplugs, man." He knows it's loud, bro.
It's smart though. It's really smart. I hear so many people nowadays, when they go to a show, they'll wear earplugs just so they can protect their ears.
It's become a very big thing. There's even a whole movie about it on Netflix called The Sound of Drumming or The Sound of Metal.
What?
Yeah, exactly. And so it's about this drummer, I guess, who he gets what's it called? Tetanus? I don't know. He gets that thing in his ears where it's just ringing.
Yeah.
And eventually he loses his hearing completely because he just never protected his ears, and he was a drummer. And it's pretty much how he goes about still playing music while not having any hearing. But it's also about, like, I guess musicians need to protect their hearing, because that's probably, I think, the worst thing that can happen is, as a musician, you lose your hearing. What the fuck?
Right. That's your muscle that brings in your income for sure.
Yeah.
It resonates with me. I always wanted to be a drummer when I was a kid, but my dad always told me I was a little beat off. Hey guys, that's
Aren't
all I
we
got for the night.
We'll be here all weekend.
Don't forget to tip your wait staff. Oh.
Yeah.
Whew. So what really made you want to get into the whole media thing? Because obviously jumping from music to video is a whole big jump. What made you want to make the leap?
It was just something that I wanted to try that was new to me. I've never considered myself doing anything close to this. And so it was just something that I figured, well, let me try it. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. So far, I've enjoyed it. Still a lot to learn. But part of the reason that I wanted to get into this was just mainly to pick people's brains in the same industry that I'm in. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I like being able to talk to more people that are doing similar things to me. Also Joe Rogan.
Hey, who doesn't love him? Host of Fear Factor, right?
And if I'm gonna be for real, my first answer would have been Joe Rogan.
Yeah. Who was your big radio guy growing up? Did you have a favorite radio jockey?
Whoever was running B96 back in the day.
Ryan Seacrest?
Probably.
Maybe? No, he was nationwide, but it's still on B96. I don't remember.
But I remember, but the only reason I'm saying that is because that's the one radio station I would always listen to back in the day. And,
really? B96? Bro, you're such a heavy rocker. You were listening to fucking Britney Spears? Like,
oh, dude, you have no idea. So, my go-to karaoke song anytime I go is Toxicity by Britney Spears.
Not surprised. Not surprised. I bet you flare your hair around. Yeah.
I freaking love Fergie, bro. You have no idea, man.
Who doesn't? She's a national treasure. She's a national treasure.
No, I used to be a lot into like pop and hip hop and rap and stuff back in the day.
Yeah.
So those are still really big influences in my life and music and stuff. Eventually, somebody's older brother turned me on to like metal and Metallica and stuff, and then I was all like, well, hold on. I've been living under a rock this whole time.
Right?
Yeah.
It's funny how it takes sometimes older folks' influence to bring in a new music genre into people's lives, you know. My sister was like that for me. When I was a kid, I was so into like Bewitched and, you know, Spice Girls and all that. But she totally got me into like modern rock and roll, and especially a lot of rap too. I remember like listening to The College Dropout when it like first came out because my sister introduced me to it, and I was like, this is one of the coolest things I've ever heard. I can't believe our parents are like sheltering us to this, you know.
I remember listening to Eminem's Encore when I was like 7 years old.
There you go.
So that kind of explains a little bit about me.
There you go. That makes sense. That makes total sense now. Huh?
Whoever, if you guys know that album, pretty hardcore.
Let me ask you this: what's your give me a top 3 of your favorite albums that throughout your life, 3 albums that meant the most to you? Or
well, Eminem's Encore, like how I said, Slipknot, All Hope Is Gone, and probably not to be like generic, but maybe like the Metallica's Black Album.
Hell yeah. Just
because they were all like big staples and like to making the artists that I listen to currently.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those are like some pretty good albums.
That was really tight.
What about you, man? What are your top 3 albums?
Oh man, you know, one's kind of an underrated one. Does This Look Infected by Sum 41.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I remember that was maybe one of the first CDs I bought with my own money as a kid. You know, going in the record shop back in my day when we had CD stores.
Damn, you're showing your age, Jack. How does it feel to be 60?
Ugh, not counting anymore. I saw Sum 41 this summer, and they still kicked ass, dude. They were the best show I've ever seen. It was super fun. It was great to see Sum 41. I was listening to them when I was a kid. I was a hard rocker as a kid. I think another album that I was super into, The Best of Kiss. The Best of Kiss. I'm a huge fan of Kiss. I'm very glad that they've gone digital now, which is really cool.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to introduce Kiss to a whole new generation of young kids and musicians and artists. I think that's super fun. And number 3, man, maybe Exodus by Bob Marley. I remember being really into that as a kid. My dad's gonna kill me if I don't say anything by Styx. Like, all right, Dad, for you, honorable mention, The Grand Illusion by Styx.
There you go.
Yeah, no, it was my. I definitely grew up in a music genre, a music genre friendly house where a lot of different music was listened to throughout the radio. We used to listen to Lynn Gramer do Breakfast with the Beatles on 93 XRT. I was a huge fan of Mancow Muller.
The Mancow Show.
I love Mancow Muller. Till this day, he's one of my favorites. Chicago's original shock rock DJ. I actually met Mancow.
No way. How was that?
Yeah, it was. Well, I met him when I was a kid because Mancow loves his fans. He always goes to different events and will, do signings and things like that. And I have photos of him when I was a kid because my dad would always take me to go see him, and we would listen to him with my old man. But I remember I met Mancow in my adult age because I had worked on a music video with my friends at Claremont Collections, and it was a music video for Donnie V for his song Party Time, and it was this whole like Batman theme, and I played the Joker for it.
That's a good Joker right there.
Thank you. So I played the Cesar Romero Joker. I played the 60s Joker, and it was really fun because they have some mutual friends, Mancow and some of the guys who work at Claremont Collections. Shout out Todd, love you, buddy. Glad you're doing better, bud. And it was really cool because I knew he was potentially going to be a part of the video. But again, he had some mutual friends. And I remember I was working out on the west side of Chicago one day, and I was in like Fulton Market area, and I was working right over by Mr. Beef where they shot the bear.
Yeah.
And I didn't know they were shooting the bear at the time. I had like heard that they were in town shooting something new, and I remember meeting the owner, and he would like tell me that was like my regular spot, and I had like no idea it was about to blow up and become this thing. And sometimes when I would take my lunch break out there, I'd like, I'd grab my food and I'd probably run back to the office. But something told me, I was like, I should stick around here today. I'm gonna go in that other room. And I went into the side room there, and sure as shit, I hear Mancow Muller. And I'm like, that's no way, it's Mancow, bro. And I'm like sitting in the corner eating food by myself like I'm fucking Steven Glansberg. And I'm sitting there. And I'm waiting for him to like finish his conversation with his friend that he was with, and I was like, "Hey, I don't mean to interrupt, but Mancow, I'm like a huge fan of yours, man. I've been listening to you ever since. I love you. I love your show. I've been listening to you ever since I was a kid." And I was like, "Hey, we have some like mutual friends. I just wanted to say, I'm a huge fan. We have mutual friends. I know that you know these guys," and I told him about the video and that I played the Joker. And Mancow's a big comic book fan. He's a very big comic book fan. And Jay, let me tell you, one of my defining moments in my life thus far, it was so cool for Mancow Muller to go, one of my idols as a kid, to go, "That was you?" And I'm like this like pimply faced kid stuffing his face with French fries, like, yeah.
So he recognized you after you told him that.
He recognized me as the Joker, yeah. And I always have an intense amount of love and appreciation for Mancow. He tells it how it is, and that's hard. Especially nowadays, man. It's really hard to speak freely in this world nowadays, and he definitely pushed the line then, still pushes the line now, and it's important though. I think it's important in radio conversation, and even in conversation with folks across a dinner table. I think when we stop talking, that's when bad things happen. When people stop having civil conversations and expressing ideas and beliefs and thoughts, that's when fucking civil wars happen, and that's when people turn violent, and it's not an okay thing to just like bottle things up because then people pop later. It's good to have conversations and to hear other people's outside interpretations of things. So, no, man, I growing up, radio was always a big thing in our family. Talk radio. I still listen to talk radio.
Are there any like radio DJs or just radio influences that are like just super huge? You're very influenced by?
Mancow for sure. Always and forever, Mancow. Can I say Wayne Campbell from Wayne's World?
Yeah.
You know,
Why not?
that was probably a pivotal moment in my youth when I saw that movie. No, a young kid from Chicago, as you can relate, you know, when you see guys like that wearing Blackhawks jerseys and having Aerosmith on their show.
Well, he was actually from Elgin. Or
Aurora.
Waukegan, Aurora. There you go. Yeah.
City of Lights. But Mike Myers was, he was a Second City guy. You know, he did a lot of time in Chicago here. So
You mentioned earlier you were doing some Second City stuff. You want to talk to us about your time there?
sure, I would love to. Just like a Notre Dame graduate, you'll probably hear it within the first 5 minutes of talking to me if you allow me to. No, I did a lot of work at the Second City. I took a lot of classes there. And I had taken a public speaking class in college, and I had a friend named David Chabin who introduced me to stand-up comedy. And he's like, dude, you should do this. And I fell in love with it, and I honestly, like, I left college to pursue comedy. So I took classes at the Second City, at the training center, as well as Zany's Comedy Club. I did a stand-up comedy class there to like kind of get introduced into it. But no, Second City's great. I would highly suggest it to anyone who's mildly interested in getting into arts and entertainment, or at a very base level. You know that feeling that you get when you like have an argument with somebody and you're like, fuck, like, I wish I would have like said such and such, you know? When you go and take an Improv 1 class, they teach you to just act on your instincts and not have that woulda, coulda, shoulda feeling afterwards. In the sense of like, you go and you take an improv class there, and the number one, do you know the number one rule of improv with the big
Yes,
saying?
and.
Yes, and you know it, yeah.
So I never took an improv class at Second City. My high school had an improv club, which I took.
There you go.
It was pretty fun, but I always regretted not taking one at Second City after doing that class at high school.
You know, whether you do it at Second City or you do it in high school or grammar school or even just an outside extracurricular activity, do it. It's such a good way to get out of your comfort zone and to not be so caught up in your head all the time.
Yeah,
you know?
no, I used to be like really shy, and then doing that like club or class or whatever in high school, it was definitely an eye opener. Definitely helped me not care too much about what people thought and just like go for it, because that's pretty much what improv is, just going for it.
And that's entertainment in a broad spectrum too.
Yeah.
You got to live it, man. You got to live it. You got to feel it. You just got to perform it. You know, I think one of the coolest things that I realized about the improv class that I took, there were doctors and lawyers that were taking these classes alongside me, because you know, how else can you tell someone that, hey, you know, Jim's got 3 weeks to live until we got to rip his kidneys out and blah, blah.
I need that, that outlet to
you
get
need
everything out, I guess.
right. And a lot of folks like in that world, they bottle things up, and you got to be able to freely speak and be able to say what's on your mind, which a lot of people have a hard time with.
Yeah,
these
I used to
days.
know a 911 dispatcher, and the stories they would tell me was nuts. They would get all kinds of calls, like anywhere from like shootings to stabbings to domestic violences to like people just acting crazy on the phone, and they would have to like sit there and listen to everything. So I understand, dude. Sometimes you need like some sort of like comedic outlet to like get through your day.
Right. And to have this cool collected mentality of how to portray it and how to speak when so many things externally are going on outside of your brain wavelength, and you got to convey a message. You know, it takes a lot of skill to harness that and to be able to block out those things that are stopping you. But no, I did a lot of classes there. I met a lot of really great folks there too. I think that is that's one thing I think is maybe the most important thing that I've learned at the Second City is yes and with a lot of things in life, but to work as an ensemble, to work as a team, not have this bullshit crabs in a bucket mentality. And I think that's really what paved the way for my mindset and where my heart is in entertainment, of having these shows, of giving folks a platform to perform and be their best selves. As much as I like to be a ringleader and I love to wear the hat and the big fucking drape coat jacket that comes with it, the most important part to me though is to allow the clowns to perform, to allow the acrobats to perform, to allow the musicians to play their music, because like we were saying before, sometimes people just don't have that medium or the space to do it, and to provide that for folks is something that just fills my heart. I can't juggle. I roller skate really well. We all have our skills.
Everybody has like a big, like, even if it's not like realistic, but everybody has like a dream that they want to like accomplish someday. Like, I want to play in Madison Square Garden someday in front of like 20,000 people, right?
Yeah.
May or may not happen, who knows, but it's still like something. What's your like dream that you want to accomplish one day? Like, it's got to be like this, I can now die after today type of thing.
As a millennial, I'd say I'd like to afford a house.
Won't we all?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think mine has always been, I've always wanted to be the host of my own show. When I was a kid, me and my baby brother and my sister, we would sneak into my parents' bedroom at night, and when they were, watching late night TV, we would go and we'd sneak up to the foot of their bed, and we'd bring our pillows and we'd army crawl in, and we'd sit there and we'd like watch their TV at the end of the night. And I remember watching Jay Leno, and I loved Jay Leno. He had a collection of cars. He was cool. He wore a cool suit. He had really funny jokes. He was friends with all of these incredible talents, and he worked a night job, and he woke up at noon, and he had breakfast for lunch. And I remember being a kid and being like, that sounds great. I want to do that.
That's what I want to do from now on.
Right?
Yeah.
So to answer your question, yeah, to be some sort of a show host, growing up being influenced by guys like Jay Leno, Mancow, Oprah, Bozo, having that idea that that's possible to be a ringleader of sorts, that's kind of always been my go-to. How about you, man? 20, 30 years down the line, what's your big goal in life that you want to accomplish?
Man, dude, like I mentioned earlier, one of my biggest like goals that I want to accomplish is just playing in front of a big crowd, man. Like, I don't have too many big goals, man. Like, I mean, being a host of like a cool show would be nice too. That'd be awesome, just to be able to talk to different kinds of people of like different kinds of walks of life. I don't have too many ambitions, but that's definitely something that I want to do. Just play in front of a big crowd. That's pretty much it.
Do you have like a dream venue?
Do I have a dream venue?
Yeah.
Not like a dream venue, but it'd be Ozfest.
Ozfest.
Yeah.
Love Ozfest.
It would, yeah. It's like a festival of some sort. So
what do you? Come on, man. You think I live under a rock? Come on.
For those of you who don't know, probably shouldn't be watching this anyways.
Ozzy was a great dude.
But yeah, that's probably one of my biggest dreams, to play in one of those festivals.
That's a good dream to have, because that's cool. Because I think the fun part about festivals is that you get new fans that way.
Yeah.
It's not folks buying the ticket to see you and a headliner, but when you walk into a festival, you're open to all this new music that you just might stumble upon and find out.
That's how I used to discover a lot of my a lot of the bands that I listen to now. I don't know if you remember this thing called Warped Tour.
Come on, bro.
That was wild, man. They had kids moshing at 11 o'clock in the morning, man, on a Wednesday. Some wild times. You had like 13-year-olds hopped off on like 5 energy drinks.
Right.
5 monsters.
And they're like clog shoes, and they're
like studded belts and like big ass hair. It was some good times.
Oh man, Warped Tour is fun. Do you have a favorite concert that you've ever gone to?
Do I have a System of a Down 2012, I want to believe. They were at Allstate Arena. The Deftones opened for them. It was great. I had actually, it was one of my first times discovering the Deftones that day, because I lived under a rock before that. And so I saw them and I was all like, whoa, what is this musical, sonic, whatever that they're doing for us? It was great.
So you stumbled upon them.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then they were opening for System of a Down, and then they finished, and then System of a Down came and gave probably like one of the best performances I ever saw.
Nice.
How about you, man? What was one of your top concerts you've seen so far?
Oh man, I've seen a lot. I think one of the big reasons why I want to dive into more music stuff is to make my dad happy. Like you said, your old man got you into music as well. My dad, that's one of his big things with his kids. He loves going to concerts with us. And anytime there's a big show coming up, he makes sure that we clear our calendars and we go. So, man, I've seen some really awesome concerts with my dad. If I can give you a top 3 real quick, Aerosmith is my favorite band of all time. Yeah. I've seen them twice already. Alice Cooper was one of my favorite shows, just like the theatrics of it.
Yeah.
They chop his head off.
He's got some good. Yeah, he's got a good live show for sure.
It's super fun. God, my best show that I've ever seen though. So I think maybe my favorite show that I've ever seen, speaking of the Ozman, I saw Black Sabbath live.
Ooh.
This is actually a fun story, dude. So this was back when 97.9 The Loop was a thing. For all you kids out there who don't know what 97.9 The Loop is,
everybody born after 2000.
it was Chicago's rock station from like the 80s to the 2000s. And they were a great rock station. And I guess they probably went into the 20-teens. So it was 2013 when I was going to take classes at the Second City, and I was living out on the south side at the time, and I was taking the family minivan all the way up to the north side, and I was driving up Lakeshore Drive, and we get to the bridge, the Lakeshore Drive bridge on the river.
Yeah.
It goes up because all the sailboats are sailing on through there. And I got stuck in traffic, and I'm like, fuck, like I'm gonna be late for my class again. It sucks that I have to live all the way on the south side, but it's fucking expensive to live in the city. Yeah. So I was pissed, but I was listening to The Loop, and they're like, yeah, all you loyal loopers out there, text the word Tony to blah, 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 blah. Tony Iommi is the guitarist.
Yeah.
And I text Tony, and a little time goes by, the bridge goes down, across the river, get to class up at an Old Town, and I'm sitting in the middle of my class, and my text goes off, and they're like, congratulations, you won 2 tickets to go see Black Sabbath.
No way.
Yeah, dude. And I'm like, awesome. Fuck yeah, all right.
He's in the middle of class, fuck yeah, dude.
I jumped up, I was shit hooping and hollering, I was so stoked. I win free tickets regularly because I listen to talk radio quite regularly. But I win these tickets, and I don't know if these tickets are front row. I don't know if it's at Tinley Park,
gotcha.
Whatever they're calling it, center now, and which is a great venue. I love that venue, but I had no idea where these seats were going to be. No idea. I was talking to this one really cute blonde girl at the time. I was like, hey, why don't we go on a date? Like, I got tickets to go see Black Sabbath.
Damn.
She blows me off.
Oh, what?
Right.
Definitely.
I'm like, all right.
Even better for you. She wasn't the one.
Exactly. So I called up one of my good buddies, Greg Soul.
There you
go. I was
go.
like, hey, Soul Train, you wanna go check out a show? And I'm like, I have no idea if these are front row.
With a name like Soul Train, he's always down for everything.
He was. He's a good friend of mine. He used to collect money at some of my comedy shows. I used to hire him to collect admission for
the muscle.
Yeah, he's the muscle. He was the money man. Soul Train, if you're listening, love you, brother. It was so I asked him, I'm like, you want to go? He's like, fuck yeah, let's go. And we get there, we go to Will Call to pick up the tickets. Hey, I'm Jack, I won tickets from The Loop, yada yada, love your show. And they give me the tickets, And my buddy Soul Train looks at the tickets and he goes, "See?" I go, "See, primo, let's go!" You know, yeah. And he goes, "No, bitch." He goes, "Look at your fucking ticket right now." And I look down, it's row C. I'm 3 rows back.
I was gonna say, do they go by alphabet like ABC?
ABC, and that venue in the front they do, yeah.
Jesus Christ, that's awesome,
bro. I was 3 rows back, but what was cool is there weren't like a lot of people in that area, so we moved up a bit more.
Yeah,
and bro, another turning point in my career, the Ozman, the Bloody Prince of Darkness, looked into my soul that day. Dude.
That'll change you for sure, man. That'll put something in there for sure.
It did. And till this day, is probably one of my favorite concerts I've ever gone to. At the end of all of my comedy shows, my bits, or shows that I do, I always say, thank you from the bottom of my ice cold heart. And I learned that from Ozzy. It's an Ozzy thing, because at the end of all his shows, he says, thank you from the bottom of my cold black heart.
Yeah, I've always heard him say that, and I've heard you say what you say. I never made that connection.
Yeah, it's an Ozzy
That's
thing.
awesome.
It's an Ozzy thing. But like ever since I saw him live, I was like, that's just what I want to be a rock star.
You know the phrase, they don't make him like they used to, man? Ozzy is a good example of that, man. All the shit that guy's done, and he's still kicking it.
He's a mutant.
Bro, that guy's crazy. He's awesome. I love Ozzy.
I love Ozzy too.
It would be one of my biggest dreams to just shake his hand just one time, man.
Right. You know whose hand you really got to shake in that relationship? Sharon.
I was gonna say his wife.
His wife, Sharon.
To put up with all that for all these years, Jesus Christ. I need to find me a Sharon someday.
Right. Dude, you and me both. That's relationship goals. If it wasn't for Sharon Osbourne, he would not have the life and career that he flourished into.
I believe that. Yeah, I believe that too, man.
She kept him on the right track.
I feel like,
enough of this behind every great man. No, fuck that. At the side of every great man is a great woman. Yeah. And Sharon Osbourne is.
I feel like it goes both ways. You know what I mean? Like if you're if you're a woman and you're happy, okay. Let me rephrase that whole thing, because I'm not gonna say that a man's the reason you're happy. But if you're in a relationship in general and you're happy, it's because both of you are working at something.
Right. And that's an important thing, though. I think for anyone in the relationship, of when you're in a relationship, a lot of folks that I know, I was guilty of this too. You lose focus. You lose focus of what you want to do with your life, what your ikigai is, what you're meant to do. And it's a great thing and a reassuring thing to have a partner, a Sharon, if you will, a Sharon compared to a Karen, who will veer you right onto the right track again and get you back into it. No, you're right though. I mean, hell, even Dolly Parton's husband. No one knows who this cat is, but like, he makes her
through a lot.
Happy. Yeah, he makes her a happy man. They're like a committed, loyal relationship.
I used to quote Will Smith when talking about this kind of stuff, but after the Oscars event, I don't think I want to quote him anymore.
Quote it.
But he used to be like, you don't find happiness with your partner, you find happiness within yourself, and when you get with your partner, you guys share that happiness.
I love that.
I thought that was an awesome way of describing relationships.
Totally.
Between your partner and whatever, because you don't want somebody. Because if they break up with you and they leave you, then that's it. Your happiness is gone. But you don't want that. That's dependent on some people. You want to be happy within yourself and find somebody who is already happy, and then you guys come together and just be happy together.
Yeah. You're right, because if and when that split happens,
then you're fucked.
You gotta have that foundation of who you are, and your own self. No, I'm totally with you on that, brother. Because I'm guilty of that. A lot of folks are guilty of that. If you you lose sight of that.
I used to be in a relationship where I would just focus on her, and the things that I had to do came second, and then I started losing what made me happy. And then we broke up, and then that's how breakups get tough. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a hard thing. You live, you learn, you grow. Yeah. Well, before we get into the whole dating situation.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about this no more.
We're also getting just about that time that we might have to start wrapping up here in a few, huh?
Yeah.
8:30.
Yeah.
Well, for those of you guys who just listening to us now, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching Hawk Wins Radio Picture Show. Again, this is the pilot. This is me and Jay just introducing ourselves. You're gonna find out who your hosts are for the show, for the duration of this show, and we plan on having a lot of fun. I think one of my favorite parts that we've been doing thus far, because we've recorded some stuff beforehand, is that at the end of every show, we like to think about what the audience can take away from each show. What's something that they can take away, and in a way, what's a challenge for them to complete before the next show? Jay, what's something that you think folks should take away from today's show?
I think after watching today's show, everybody should go listen to one of their favorite artists' albums all the way through. I don't think that many people do that anymore. I feel like they just listen to one song or two. But you got like the good old days. You would put on an album, listen to it all the way through. That's what people have to do nowadays.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. Yeah, listen to an album in its entirety.
Just listen to an album all the way, and then just comment below which one it was. I'll probably listen to it.
Yeah. I'm going to piggyback off of that as well, as far as what to get out of the show. Completion, finding a whole self, and kind of diving into the last topic we were talking about, is finding out who your whole self is. Dive deep. If you got to do some sort of psilocybin trip to get you to your inner chi and your soul of who you are as a person, take some time to reflect on yourself. Find yourself as a whole, complete person. Forgive yourself. Love yourself. Tell yourself in the mirror that you love yourself. And be happy within yourself. Find a whole center of self. And if you do, again, comment down below.
Comment who you are.
Comment who you are. Say where you're from. Say love your show. And any other information that we have that we were talking about throughout the show, look down below into the description. We're going to have me and Jay's information. If you guys want to keep in touch with us, follow us on the social medias, give us lots of likes. Every Tuesday, Jay is a cam girl. And if you want to chip in,
check out my OnlyFans. I call it OnlyPans. It's because I cook with nothing but an apron on.
Ooh, hot.
So,
and on Tuesdays we have ASMR. Hey.
And then we do NPC streaming on Monday.
Yes, NPCs. Where we have people who just aren't completely up there digitally and they just run into the wall. And it's quite fun, and, as you do in video games. But anything else before we tie the knot on today's pilot episode, Jay?
I think we're good.
I think we're good too.
You guys come check us out. Come watch. We have a great list of artists and comedians and entertainers coming on the show next, so stick around for that.
Yeah. And if you're interested in participating in the show, again, we are going to open up this stage back behind here. Join us. Leave us a comment. Send us a direct message. Let us know if you're a Chicago-based artist and you want to get some exposure. Even if you're not Chicago-based, coming from the Great Lakes region, the Hawk Winds is a term for, of course, the winds blowing off of Lake Michigan. So if you're in the Great Lakes region, please come on by. We would love to host you. We'd love to help you get some exposure.
If you're anywhere in the Midwest, just come on by.
Yeah, swing on by.
If you're anywhere in the United States, doesn't matter.
Yeah, always tune in. You can tune in wherever you're at. So, from all of us here at Hawk Winds, to all of you out there, wherever you are, remember, the light at the end of the tunnel may be you. Good night.
Peace.